Jake sat nervously in the small coffee shop, his eyes darting around the room. He could hear the calming buzz of conversation, the clinking of cups, and the hissing of the espresso machine. Outside, cars rushed by, but for Jake, time felt like it was moving in slow motion. Today was no ordinary day. Today was the day he decided to finally take a risk. Just as he was about to take a sip of his black coffee, the door swung open. She walked in, and Jake's heart raced. Her name was Emily. She had an air of confidence that commanded attention. With her long, dark hair flowing behind her and an assertive expression on her face, she took a moment to scan the room. Jake felt his palms sweat. Emily headed straight for him, her green eyes locking onto his. She asked, her voice firm yet inviting. Jake nodded, his throat suddenly dry. He could barely find his voice. As they settled in, Jake couldn't shake the feeling of uncertainty. He admired Emily, but there was something about her that made him uneasy. The way she carried herself, the piercing gaze, it all hinted at a strong will. Jake was a dreamer, always lost in his thoughts, but Emily felt different. She was grounded in control. He respected that. "So, Jake," she said, bringing him back to reality. Before he could answer, Emily leaned in closer. That question hit Jake like a punch in the gut. He stammered. "I mean, everyone talks a big game," she replied, her voice steady. Jake hesitated. Should he share his dreams, his failures, his small victories, or was it too soon? The doubt gnawed at him, but he took a deep breath and decided to be honest. "I run a small tech startup," he said, feeling a flicker of pride as he spoke. Emily's eyes narrowed slightly. "Prove it," she said. "The tech haven," Jake replied, shifting in his seat. "Sound familiar," she murmured. Jake felt exposed. He was used to talking about his work, but he never imagined someone would challenge him so directly. He searched for words. "It's all about empowering people," he began. She raised an eyebrow. "And how do you plan to do that?" Jake could feel his heart racing. Innovative software, he started, but he felt the weight of her gaze like she was peeling away his layers. What was she looking for? Emily leaned back, crossing her arms. Jake's stomach twisted. He said, then hesitated. "I can show you more if you. Where's your office?" Her relentless directness felt like a gauntlet, and Jake faltered. "It's a small space, but it's cozy," he said, trying to sound convincing. At this, she smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "So you've got nothing to back it up." The words stung. Jake cleared his throat. "I'm trying to make a difference." Emily held his gaze unwavering. "Belief isn't enough, Jake." Just then her phone buzzed. She glanced at it briefly, then put it down. "It's about impact." Suddenly, Jake felt small. Was he truly just a dreamer in a coffee shop, talking big but delivering nothing? "Okay, I get that," he said, his voice shaky. "Then show me," she demanded. "Prove you have what it takes." His heart sank. The plaque. Back in his small office, standing on his desk, was a plaque he barely acknowledged. It represented the name of the company, a token of promise. But it felt fragile, like glass waiting to shatter. Could he really ask her to see it? "I don't have it with me," he stammered. Just then he caught a glimpse of himself in the glass reflection of the coffee shop. He looked different, an imposter. Jake took a moment, trying to gather his thoughts. A longer silence stretched between them. Emily looked down at her coffee, swirling the remains of her drink. He nodded, though doubt crept deep into his core. The remainder of the meeting felt like walking on a tightrope. Jake shared his plans, his ambitions, and some ends to justify his means, but the whole time he felt the weight of that plaque urging him to hurry back to the office. This was his chance, but it felt like an impossible feat. As their time came to an end, the pressure mounted. Emily stood, her eyes still piercing. "Don't think this is a game." With that, she turned and left, the bell of the door jingling softly behind her. Jake sat alone for a moment, the coffee shop buzzing with life all around him. Tension hung in the air like fog. He took a deep breath and acknowledged what he felt inside. The next few days were a whirlwind. Jake threw himself into his work. The tech wasn't perfect yet, but he felt ignited. He was driven by an urgency to prove himself, not only to her but to himself. Like a fire ignited within his chest, he craved belief in his vision. Eventually, the day of their meeting arrived. Jake stood in front of the mirror that morning, adjusting his collar nervously. As he looked into his own eyes, he knew he had to be brave. He had a plan. Later that day, Jake found himself back in the same coffee shop, his heart thumping loudly in his chest as he spotted Emily at their usual table. She was already there, scrolling through her phone, looking uninterested. But when she noticed him, her expression shifted. She asked, her tone challenging as she glanced at the small box tucked under his arm. With trembling hands, he placed the box on the table, revealing the plaque nestled inside. It gleamed under the cafe lights, its polished surface reflecting their shared moment. Emily's eyebrows raised, genuine intrigue dancing in her green eyes. Jake felt a wave of relief wash over him, but he quickly steadied himself. "It's just a plaque, it's not everything," he admitted. She reached forward and picked it up, turning it in her hands. "I see this," but she paused, her eyes meeting his. "Where's the proof of your passion?" Jake felt a pang of vulnerability, his bravado fading for a moment. "I'm working on that." Emily studied the plaque again, her expression thoughtful. After a moment, she placed it back down. "You know, Jake, this isn't just a reflection of you. It's a symbol of your journey, your struggle." He nodded, absorbing her words. "I know that now." Emily leaned in, her gaze softening. "Then show me that journey." Jake felt a thrill of determination. You're right, I've been so focused on proving I can do it by myself. For the first time, he saw the path ahead more clearly. Sharing his vision and letting others in could create a spark beyond just a small plaque on a wall. Emily smiled, the tension easing. You'll get there. Thank you for challenging me, he replied, feeling the weight lift from his shoulders. As they continued their conversation, Jake felt something shift within him. No longer was he just a dreamer sitting nervously in a coffee shop. Today, he was a founder ready to embrace the path ahead. With renewed courage and motivation, Jake knew this was only the beginning. He realized that the journey had just begun, and with it, the opportunity to turn those dreams into reality. Emily had ignited a fire in him, and he couldn't wait to share that flame with the world. Jake's heart raced as he stood outside the sleek office building, the late afternoon sun casting long shadows on the pavement. Today was pivotal. Today, he would pitch his tech startup to a potential investor, a chance to finally prove himself. But just as he took a deep breath to calm his nerves, a woman approached him with a serious look in her eyes. "Excuse me," she said, her voice cutting through his thoughts. Jake blinked in surprise. She repeated, crossing her arms. The air around them felt heavy, and her unwavering gaze made him feel exposed. He asked, glancing around, unsure of what was happening. "I need to see your identification." Jake's anxiety surged. He wasn't lost. He was only a few minutes away from defining his future. "I'm not lost," he tried to sound confident, but his voice wavered. She didn't budge. "If you're here for a meeting, then show me proof." Taken aback, Jake felt the flutter of desperation in his stomach. "I promise I'm supposed to meet with Ms. Blanchard." The corner of her mouth twitched in skepticism. "The tech haven, I've never heard of it." With his heart pounding, Jake fumbled through his pocket, searching for anything that could convince her. He handed it over, feeling somewhat embarrassed as she scrutinized it. She glanced at the card, then back at him, her expression a mighty storm. "This doesn't prove a thing." He swallowed hard. This was getting out of hand. "Look, I'm really here for a serious meeting." Still not convinced, she shot back. "Prove to me you're who you say you are." Jake's mind went blank. The plaque was sitting on his desk back in the tiny office he rented, a symbol of everything he hoped to accomplish, but it felt small compared to this moment. He hesitated, feeling the weight of her challenge. "I don't have it with me," he finally admitted, heat rushing to his cheeks. "Right," she said, the hint of disbelief evident again. Frustration bubbled inside him. How could this be happening? He was on the verge of something great, and here he was, trapped by a stranger's skepticism. She interrupted, uncrossing her arms and tilting her head slightly. "You think words are enough, empowering people, changing business?" Jake felt like he was drowning in the sea of his own ambitions. Nothing was tangible. It was all just a dream floating away. "Can't you give me a chance? I'm really close to making something big happen, this." "It's the thing, Jake," she replied, her tone shifting from cold to slightly sympathetic. "Everyone has big dreams. Show me you're serious. If this startup means enough to you, go back to your desk, grab that plaque, and bring it here." The fire in her voice ignited something deep within him. The frustration he felt morphed into determination. He straightened his back, feeling the weight of her challenge settle into his bones. "Fine," Jake said. As he turned away, the sounds of the bustling city enveloped him. But he didn't care. He had a mission now, a quest to prove not just to her but to himself. He rushed back to his small office, each step heavy with purpose. When Jake entered the cramped space, the walls seemed to close in on him, but he was determined. He walked straight to his desk where the plaque sat proudly, the letters glinting in the light. It wasn't just a title, it was a symbol of his hard work, late nights, and unyielding resolve. He grasped the plaque tightly, feeling the cool metal against his palm. This was his truth. He was not just some guy, he was building a legacy. With the plaque secured, he ventured back to the office building, his heart steady now. As he strode through the entrance, he spotted her at the security desk, her eyes narrowing as he approached. He held up the plaque. "Here." For a moment, her expression was inscrutable. She took the plaque from him, examining it closely. Then a flicker of respect crossed her face. "Okay, Jake." She led him to a conference room, her demeanor shifting as she sat down across from him. The stark walls of the room felt both intimidating and promising. Jake placed the plaque in front of her. "First off, this plaque symbolizes my commitment," he began, feeling renewed energy flow through him. As he spoke, he saw her begin to lean in, interest peaking. "Interesting," she said, still glancing at the plaque but now focused on him. And it came pouring out of him. He spoke of his vision, his strategies, the team he was building, and the research they had done. He talked about the long nights spent coding, the late calls with potential clients, and the hopes held within the small startup. As he explained, the tension in her posture eased ever so slightly. He could see she was no longer just a gatekeeper, but someone who cared about what he was presenting. "We're currently finalizing our prototype, which we plan to launch next month," he continued, his confidence soaring. "I see," she said, her pen moving swiftly across a notepad. Jake felt like he was finally in his element. He laid out his plans for a marketing strategy, highlighting their unique selling points and describing how they would build strong relationships with their clients. The more he talked, the more he could see her engaging with his ideas. Her eyes sparkled with interest, and he found himself gaining momentum. He could feel his passion igniting the room. After answering her questions, he took a deep breath. I know this is just an idea right now, but I believe in it. I believe in the people it can help. Her gaze softened, and for the first time, Jake could see her genuinely considering his words. You've put a lot into this, I can tell. I know, Jake replied, his voice steady. She echoed, intrigued. Yes, he confirmed. A promise to not only deliver, but to listen to our clients for their input as we grow, to always be transparent about our processes and results. The room fell silent for a moment, the weight of his words hanging in the air. All right, she finally said. Consider me interested, but remember, talk is cheap. Jake nodded. He could feel a new direction forming, one that involved accountability and commitment to not just his dream, but to the people who believed in it. The rest of the meeting unfolded with a vibrant energy, both he and the woman delving deeper into discussions. Her name was Lee, and as they engaged, Jake discovered her sharp insights complemented his enthusiasm. Hours later, as they wrapped up, Lee leaned back, crossing her arms. You've got guts, Jake, but I want to see measurable results. He felt his heart leap at her words. This was the opportunity he'd been craving. I'll provide everything you need, Lee. She smiled, the earlier skepticism still present but softened. Good. As Jake left the office building that day, his spirit soared. He had gone from being a nameless founder to someone who had sparked interest, a step closer to realizing his vision. The sun set behind him, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink. In that moment, he understood that this journey wasn't about just a plaque or a position. It was about resilience, commitment, and the people who would join him on this path. Jake glanced down at the plaque, now in his hands once again. It was more than an object, it was a reminder of what he was capable of. It represented the challenges he had faced and the belief that propelled him forward. He felt a thrill as he imagined sharing his story with others who doubted themselves. Because if there's one thing he learned, it's that dreams are just words until you give them weight. And when others challenge you, it's just an invitation to prove yourself. With newfound resolve, Jake knew he was ready to embrace the future ahead, one fueled not just by dreams, but anchored in action, accountability, and unwavering spirit. The tech haven would not just be a name, it would become a symbol of empowerment, and he would take it there, one step at a time. The moment Jake stepped into the sleek, modern lobby of the skyscraper, something in the air shifted. All around him, people rushed about with their heads down, immersed in their phones or deep in conversation. Jake couldn't shake the feeling of being a small fish in a big pond. Today, he wasn't just any fish. He was about to pitch his startup, the tech haven, to a potential investor. His heart raced with both excitement and apprehension. As he moved toward the elevator, a woman stepped in front of him, blocking his path. She was striking, with sharp features and an assertive stance. "Excuse me," she said, her voice commanding immediate attention. Jake blinked in confusion. "My ID? I'm here for a meeting with Ms. ID." Her eyes were piercing, and the way she stared made him feel more vulnerable than he cared to admit. He hesitated, feeling the knot in his stomach tight. "I must have left it in my bag." Her tone was skeptical, and Jake could feel the heat rising to his cheeks. "It's just a small meeting." "I promise I'm not here to cause any trouble," he stammered, trying to regain control of the situation. "And that's what you think," she replied, lifting an eyebrow. "Do I look like I'm here for games? You look like a guy trying to slip past security." He felt stuck, like a deer in the headlights. He could feel the clock ticking away. Minutes were waning fast. "Can't you just let me explain?" "Passion doesn't cut it," she said, folding her arms. "I'm the founder," Jake said, trying to project confidence. She smirked, clearly not impressed. "So what? Everyone's a founder these days. Show me some proof." Each word struck him like a blow. The plaque, it was something he had earned, a physical representation of his effort, but it sat back at his small office, a constant reminder of the journey ahead. Why hadn't he brought it with him? His desperation turned to determination. "I don't have it, but I can get it." "Just give me a moment to run back," she rolled her eyes. "You want me to believe you with just words?" Every second felt like an eternity as Jake assessed his options. He could back down and leave, but something deeper called to him. Resilience. "Fine," he said, tilting his chin up. As he rushed out, determination fueled every step. The pavement felt like a runway, propelling him back to his office where the plaque awaited. He didn't just want to prove himself to her, he needed to prove to himself that he was more than just an empty promise. His small office was cluttered, papers strewn haphazardly across his desk like his thoughts. He grabbed it, his fingers brushing over the engraved letters, feeling the significance of each one. This was not merely a piece of wood and metal, it represented the blood, sweat, and tears that had gone into the startup. With the plaque in hand, he raced back to the skyscraper, his mind focused and his heart pounding. When he returned to the lobby, the chaos around him seemed muted. He marched straight back to the security desk where the woman still stood, her arms crossed over her chest. "You're back," she remarked, a hint of surprise in her tone. He held out the plaque, his voice steady. "This proves I'm not just talking nonsense, I'm the founder here." She took the plaque, examining it closely, a guarded look on her face. "Okay, this is something, but it still doesn't prove you have a viable business." Jake felt frustration creeping back in. "I assure you I'm more than just words." With a flicker of curiosity crossing her face, she stepped closer. "Tell me about it." He shared his vision, detailing how their platform aimed to provide tools and resources to small businesses, helping them find their online presence, connect with customers, and thrive. He spoke of the late nights, the relentless research, and the dream that kept him awake. The woman listened, her gaze softening. For the first time, it felt like she was truly taking him in. She asked, "We offer personalized support," Jake replied. "We're not just a faceless company, we work closely with our clients." She nodded thoughtfully, but the market is tough, people need proof of concept. Jake's heart sank. He knew they were still in the early stages, but the fire in him pushed through. "We have pilot programs and testimonials from businesses that have benefited from our early beta versions." "Then show me," she challenged. "All right," he replied, gathering his thoughts. "We've generated excitement in our community. Local cafes, boutiques, and even a few nonprofits are already seeing growth." Leaning back, she seemed to weigh his words. "That's bold." Jake could almost feel the gears turning in her head. "I get that. Okay," she said, finally returning the plaque to him. "You've got my attention, but this is only the beginning." He nodded, a mixture of relief and renewed resolve flooding over him. "Thank you." As they wrapped up the meeting, she exchanged numbers with him, her previous skepticism fading, replaced by a flicker of curiosity. "You have my contact. But you have to impress me within a month." "Deal," he said, feeling a rush of adrenaline. As Jake exited the building that day, he felt lighter. The plaque in his hand no longer represented just a title, it was a promise of commitment to action. He could already envision what lay ahead, the path that was increasingly clear, filled with hard work and meaningful connections. In the weeks that followed, Jake threw himself into his project with renewed energy. He pushed the team harder than ever before, motivated by that moment in the lobby. They met tirelessly to refine the platform, ensuring every line of code served a purpose. He reached out to small business owners, gathering stories of challenges and successes. Every interaction fueled his passion further, reminding him why he started this journey in the first place. They held workshops, listening to feedback and iterating the product to ensure it genuinely met their needs. With each positive response, Jake felt confirmed in his vision. The day of reckoning came sooner than he expected. He had arranged a follow-up meeting with Lei, eager to present the results they had worked tirelessly to achieve. Arriving at that same skyscraper, his heart raced. This time, however, it felt different. He wasn't stepping in as an uncertain founder, but as someone who had tangible results to showcase. Lei was waiting for him, an expectant look on her face. Jake laid out the details, sharing the numbers and testimonials from businesses that were already thriving with their platform. He could see the spark of interest in her eyes as he spoke. "It's impressive," Lei admitted, nodding along, "but this is just a start." "I know," he replied, "but we're building a community." She sighed, visibly weighing her thoughts before speaking. "This is a crucial moment for you, Jake." "I accept that," he said, feeling the heat of her gaze, "but I'm in it for the long haul." The dialogue flowed, each idea bouncing back and forth like a spark igniting into a flame. The conversation expanded from numbers to vision, and Jake felt an ease with her that it had taken so long to find. As the meeting reached its conclusion, Lei leaned back in her chair, impressed. "I didn't expect this level of progress, but it does show potential." Elation surged through him. They discussed collaborations, expansion efforts, and even potential investments. Jake knew this was just the beginning of something meaningful, not just for him, but for the community he had vowed to uplift. As he left that day, Jake couldn't help but smile. The road ahead would undoubtedly be filled with challenges, but he felt equipped to tackle them head-on. The plaque and everything it represented pushed him to dig deeper, to remain resilient against doubt. With newfound purpose, Jake felt a certainty weaving into his journey. This was bigger than himself. It was about making a difference, proving wrong those who said he couldn't, and building something lasting. Gripping the plaque tightly, he understood that the true essence of being a founder wasn't just about having a title. It was about action, perseverance, and above all, the willingness to rise above doubt and seize every opportunity. In that moment, Jake knew he was ready for whatever came next. Jake stood outside the towering glass building, his palms clammy and heart pounding like a drum. It was a perfect day in the city, clear skies and a gentle breeze, but none of it could settle the storm brewing in his stomach. Today was the day he would pitch his startup, the tech haven. It was everything to him. He had poured his life into it, but standing here, he felt like a young child about to step into a lion's den. As he approached the entrance, he noticed a woman standing by the door. She was striking, with sharp features and an even sharper gaze. There was a confidence about her that both intrigued and intimidated him. She asked, cutting through the bustling noise around them. Jake blinked, taken aback. "I'm here for a meeting with Ms. Blanchard." Her expression didn't soften. "ID." Feeling his heart race, he rummaged through his pockets, pulling out his business card and offering it to her. "I promise I'm not a risk." She took the card, glancing at it with a hint of skepticism. "This doesn't mean anything to me." Jake felt a surge of frustration. "Come on, can't you at least give me a chance?" "Hard work alone isn't enough," she countered, her voice steady. He hesitated, feeling exposed. The piercing look in her eyes made it clear she wasn't backing down. A wave of panic washed over him. Did this woman represent every challenge he had faced? She pressed, her tone insistent. Do you have something to show that you're more than just talk? A plaque, maybe? Jake's mind raced. A plaque. Yes, he did have one sitting proudly on his desk in his small, cramped office. It signified everything he had built, but he hadn't thought to bring it. Would it mean enough to her? Would it be enough to convince her he was real? I can get it. His words spilled out in desperation. Fine, she said, her tone still skeptical, but you best be quick. Jake turned and rushed back to the office, his heart pounding in time with his feet against the pavement. He felt the cool breeze on his face as clarity washed over him. Deep down, he realized this wasn't just about getting past the door. It was about proving to himself and to anyone else that his dreams were real. When he burst into his tiny office, cluttered with papers and empty coffee cups, the plaque caught his eye. He reached for it, gripping it tightly in his hands as he felt the weight of all the late nights and missed social gatherings come rushing back. This plaque meant more than its wood and metal. It was a representation of sweat, tears, and unwavering belief. With renewed purpose, Jake sprinted back to the skyscraper, determination fueling every step. Each moment felt like a battle of the soul. Would this be the day he broke down the walls of doubt that surrounded him? As Jake approached the woman at the security desk again, she arched an eyebrow, clearly surprised that he had returned. He raised the plaque, holding it out to her as if it were the Holy Grail. "The founder plaque," he said, breathless. She studied the plaque, her expression shifting from skepticism to intrigue. "All right, Jake, you have my attention, but this still doesn't mean you have a viable business. Tell me what the tech haven is really about," she challenged, giving him the chance he needed. "This plaque represents my commitment, my belief in what we're doing," he began, feeling the fire rise within him. She nodded slightly, intrigued but still evaluating him. Too many small businesses struggle to compete with larger corporations. They lack access to effective tools and resources to help them grow, Jake explained. "We build tailored software that gives these businesses a fighting chance. Companies that have worked with us have seen a 30% increase in online engagement within just a few months." Leahy learned her name was Lee, leaned in a little closer, her eyes narrowing in curiosity. "And how do you plan to do this?" Jake shifted, fueled by the question. "It's about creating genuine connections. We're not just another faceless tech company. We take the time to understand our clients, their needs, and adapt our technology accordingly." Lee nodded, her earlier skepticism gradually melting away as she continued to listen. "That's a compelling pitch, but let me play devil's advocate. The tech world is a saturated market." Jake felt the weight of her question, but he was ready for it. "We focus on community-driven support. Our customers are part of the journey. Their feedback drives our updates. They help shape our roadmap." For the first time, he sensed Lee's defenses lowering. Maybe he had struck a chord. "You sound passionate," she said, allowing a hint of admiration to creep into her voice. He took a deep breath. "Passion has to be backed by action. I understand that. This plaque is a reminder for me to keep pushing. I have built something, but it's a work in progress." Lee studied him, her gaze piercing. "Passion without results means nothing in this world." "Absolutely. We've already lined up pilot programs with several local businesses and gathered testimonials regarding their experiences," he continued, his confidence building. "All right," she said, crossing her arms, "but I want proof. Prepare a report on your pilot programs and results. I'll give you a month." Jake's heart soared. "You won't regret it." As he turned to leave, a weight lifted off his shoulders. The plaque in his pocket now felt like a tangible promise, not just to Lee but to himself. He would deliver, he needed to. The weeks that followed were intense. With revitalized energy, Jake threw himself into work, leading a small team with a fierce determination. They had meetings, brainstormed ideas, and made adjustments based on customer feedback. Everyone felt the urgency. They knew that Lee's attention could lead to something profound. But there were challenges. Each day seemed to bring new hurdles: a piece of software that malfunctioned, a client who needed extra attention, and the ever-looming fear of failure. There were moments when doubt crept in like a shadow, whispering in his ear, telling him he wasn't enough. But then he would glance at the plaque on his desk, and it would reignite that initial spark. He was Jake, a founder with a vision, a man committed to making a difference. He wouldn't let fear dictate his journey. As the deadline approached, the anxiety grew. Jake and his team worked late into the nights, ensuring every piece of evidence was a testament to their growth. They gathered data, refined their presentations, and compiled success stories from the businesses they were working with. When the day of the follow-up meeting arrived, Jake felt a mix of excitement and trepidation. He was ready, but the stakes felt higher than ever. As he entered the same skyscraper, he couldn't help but think about how far he had come. He approached Leigh with a sense of purpose. She gestured for him to sit, her demeanor professional yet welcoming. With shaking hands, Jake presented the report, highlighting their achievements. "We've onboarded 10 businesses, and all of them reported significant improvements in their online engagement and sales." You could see her interest deepening with each word. "The feedback has been overwhelmingly positive." Lee flipped through the pages, her eyebrows raising in surprise. "These numbers are impressive," she said, her tone shifting from skeptical to intrigued. "I understand," Jake replied, eager to elaborate. "We've been in constant communication with our clients, gathering insights and adjusting based on their needs. This isn't just a product, it's a partnership, a community effort." After a moment of silence, Lee leaned back in her chair. "You've done well, Jake. But the challenge doesn't end here. I need to know you can maintain this momentum." "Absolutely," he responded without hesitation, the fire in him burning brighter than ever. "This is just the beginning." A smile broke across her face, a rare sight that filled him with hope. "Good." Jake exhaled deeply, relief washing over him. As the meeting concluded, he felt the weight of uncertainty lift. It was more than just a business meeting. It was a testament to his journey, the struggles he had transformed into triumphs. The plaque in his pocket felt alive now, filled with the energy of his hard-won victories. It was a marker of how far he had come, a symbol of resilience, not just to himself but to everyone who had doubted him. With Lee's support, a new chapter began for the Tech Haven, one fueled by passion, commitment, and a driving desire to bring positive change to the world. Jake knew it wouldn't be easy, but he was ready to face whatever challenges lay ahead. In this game of entrepreneurs and dreamers, he would prove that dreams can be forged into reality one step at a time. He had risen to the challenge, and now he would elevate others along the way. Jake stood in front of the sleek glass skyscraper, a sense of dread creeping into his thoughts. He could see his reflection, a nervous figure dressed in a brand new suit, a man filled with ambition but battling self-doubt. Today was the day he would pitch his startup, the Tech Haven, to a potential investor. He had dreamed of this moment for so long, pouring countless hours into his work. Yet standing here, he felt like an imposter. As he walked toward the entrance, his heart raced. Just then, a woman stepped in front of him, blocking his path. She was beautiful in a fierce way, with sharp features and a confident stance. The kind of woman who commanded attention without even trying. "Excuse me," she said, her voice stern and clear. Jake stammered, momentarily thrown off balance. "I'm here for a meeting with Ms. Blanchard." Her gaze didn't waver. "I said ID." Panic surged within him. He fumbled through his pockets, his fingers trembling. I forgot it." Doubt loomed large, and his mind raced through the challenges he faced in launching his startup. She retorted, scrutinizing him with eyes that felt like they could pierce through steel. Jake could feel the frustration bubbling to the surface. "I've worked tirelessly on this project." "Yeah, everyone says that," she snapped back, crossing her arms. "You look like a dreamer, but I need proof. Do you have anything?" Her words hit him hard, unraveling his confidence. The plaque. He had won, a shiny, recognizable symbol of his hard work, sitting proudly on his desk, but he hadn't thought to bring it. Would it even be enough to convince her? "I can get it," he said, desperation creeping into his voice. "Fine," she replied, her tone still skeptical, "but you better hurry." Jake turned and dashed back to his office, each step fueled by determination. The ground felt firm beneath him, as if propelling him forward. This wasn't just about getting past a gatekeeper. It was about proving to himself that his dreams had substance, that they weren't just whispers in his mind. When he reached his cramped office, cluttered with crumpled papers and cups of coffee, he spotted the plaque sitting on his desk. It gleamed, reflecting the light, the engraved words, "Founder of the Tech Haven," standing tall. In that moment, he understood its significance. It wasn't just a title. It represented countless hours spent coding, planning, and dreaming. It symbolized sleepless nights and relentless pitches to investors. It was the product of everything he had sacrificed. With the plaque in hand, he raced back to the skyscraper, adrenaline coursing through him. As he entered the building, he felt a sense of purpose. This was the moment he had to seize. When Jake reached the security desk again, he found the woman still standing there, suspicion evident in her piercing gaze. "You're back," she said, crossing her arms. "I've got my proof," he said, holding the plaque out like it was a trophy. "This is my founder plaque." She took it from him, inspecting it closely, her expression evolving from skepticism to intrigue as she ran her fingers over the engraved letters. "All right, but this still doesn't prove you have a viable business." Jake felt the familiar fire ignite within him. At the Tech Haven, we're committed to empowering small businesses, helping them thrive in the digital age. She asked, leaning in, her interest piqued as much as her skepticism. "Our software is designed specifically for small to medium-sized businesses. We offer tools for online marketing and customer engagement, allowing them to compete with larger corporations." She nodded, her posture relaxing a fraction. Jake took a deep breath, his passion flowing through each word. "Absolutely. We've already tested our platform with a few local businesses." "Impressive," she replied, her tone shifting. "Tech landscape can be unforgiving. That's where community comes in," Jake replied eagerly. "We don't just sell software, we build partnerships. We gather feedback from our clients and use it to make constant improvements." For the first time, Leahy learned her name through their exchange, smiled slightly. "That's a compelling approach." "I understand," he said, feeling himself gaining momentum. "Operations are key." Lee studied him, her expression changing from skeptical to contemplative. "Well, you do have my attention. Just remember, passion without execution means nothing." "More than anything," Jake declared, a newfound confidence pouring from him. "I'm ready to do what it takes to make this work." Lee nodded. "All right, here's the deal. I'll give you a chance, but you must return in a month with solid results and a detailed plan." "I won't disappoint you," Jake promised, his voice firm. As he walked away, a sense of relief washed over him. The plaque in his pocket felt different now. It was no longer just an object. It was a badge of honor, a symbol of resilience that represented the journey ahead, and he couldn't wait to prove it. The following weeks swirled with adrenaline and urgency. Jake dove headfirst into work, leading his small team with relentless energy. They fine-tuned their software, crafted marketing campaigns, and established new partnerships. Every late-night coding session, every brainstorming meeting felt charged with purpose. As the days flew by, moments of doubt occasionally crept back, whispering quietly in his mind. It was easy to wonder if he was in over his head. But each time those thoughts surfaced, Jake remembered Lee's unwavering gaze, her insistence on proof, and the plaque that symbolized his dedication. He wouldn't allow fear to derail him. He would rise to the challenge. One early morning, as sunlight streamed into their office, Jake gathered the team for a meeting. "We're on the brink of something special. We've made progress, but we need to step it up even more." The energy in the room was electric. They brainstormed ideas, delving into customer feedback, strategizing on their delivery, and tightening the details. Each small victory they shared fueled their collective ambition. With the deadline approaching, the stakes began to feel real. Jake and his team worked tirelessly through countless late nights, crafting reports showing measurable success. The pressure was palpable, but so was their shared commitment. When the fateful day arrived, Jake stood outside the skyscraper once more. This time, however, he wasn't a little fish in a daunting ocean. He was a man with purpose, holding a folder filled with data, testimonials, and evidence of progress. Entering the building, he felt a mix of excitement and anxiety course through him. Lee was waiting, her arms crossed, a carefully composed look on her face. She asked, her tone challenging yet curious. Jake took a deep breath, ready to show her what he had accomplished. "I've brought results." He laid out the metrics, highlighting increases in customer engagement and sales. As he spoke, Lee's eyes sparkled with intrigue. She listened intently, and for the first time, Jake sensed her skepticism slowly fading. "We've managed to onboard more businesses, and the feedback has been overwhelmingly positive. Our platform has proven to be user-friendly and effective," he elaborated, flipping through the pages of his report to share testimonials that showcased real success stories. "Wow," she admitted, visibly impressed. Jake could feel a weight lift as he continued to present the case for the tech haven and its plans for future growth. Lee nodded, her demeanor shifting from critique to appreciation. "You've done well, Jake. This is a commendable step, but remember, every success must be built upon." "Absolutely," Jake replied, feeling a rush of pride. "This is just the beginning." Her expression softened and she extended a hand. "I'm impressed." As he shook her hand, a wave of accomplishment washed over him. He had fought against self-doubt, and through sheer determination, he had proven himself. That plaque, which once felt like a simple piece of wood and metal, now symbolized far more. It represented a journey of resilience, the willingness to face doubts head-on, and the collaboration of a team who believed in a shared vision. Jake walked out of the skyscraper, a sense of triumph swelling in his chest. The world outside felt brighter, full of possibilities. He knew now that he was not just a founder striving for success. He was a leader ready to empower others, and together they would reshape the landscape for small businesses, one step at a time. With renewed vigor, he made a promise, not just to Lee or his team, but to himself. He would take this plunge into entrepreneurship, and he would make it count. The journey had just begun, and he was ready to embrace every challenge ahead. Jake stood outside the towering glass building, a knot in his stomach. He was about to pitch his startup, the tech haven, to a potential investor. The air was crisp, the weather perfect, but all he felt was the weight of expectation pressing down on him. As he stepped inside, a woman blocked his path. She was striking, exuding confidence with sharp features and a gaze that could cut through steel. He demanded, her tone leaving no room for argument. "ID." Jake felt a jolt of panic. "I'm here for a meeting with Ms. Blanchard." Her eyes narrowed. "ID." Jake's mind raced. He fumbled in his pockets, pulling out his business card. "I don't have my ID, I left it in my bag," he sputtered, heart racing. In that moment, he felt like a child caught in a lie. She shot back, arms crossed. The accusation stung, sending a wave of embarrassment over him. "I'm serious. I promise I'm not a risk." He pleaded, the frustration bubbled up from the pit of his stomach. "Prove it," she challenged, her eyes piercing into his. "What's your business about?" A plaque, panic washed over him. Yes, he had won an emblem of his journey as a founder, etched with pride, but it sat in his small office, the one he shared with hopes and dreams. What would it take to convince her he was more than just a dreamer? "I can get it." The desperation was clear in his voice. "Fine," she replied, still skeptical. "But you'd better hurry." Jake turned and dashed back to his office, urgency fueling each step. He didn't just want to get past this woman, he needed to validate his dreams to himself. How could he show the world what he was capable of if he couldn't even get through the front door? Entering his cramped office, cluttered with boxes and crumpled papers, he spotted the plaque glimmering on his desk. It was more than just a piece of wood and metal. It represented sleepless nights, endless coding marathons, and the countless sacrifices he made to bring the tech haven to life. Clutching it tightly, Jake felt a surge of determination coursing through him. This plaque embodied everything he had fought against, the doubts, the failures, and the fears. With it in hand, he raced back to the skyscraper, adrenaline pounding in his veins. This time the lobby felt different. As he approached the security desk, the atmosphere shifted. The same woman stood there, her expression a mixture of surprise and curiosity. She asked, skepticism still lingering. "I have the proof," he declared, holding out the plaque with a mix of pride and hope. "Okay," she said slowly, "but this still doesn't show that your business is viable." Jake took a deep breath, allowing the fire within him to ignite. At the Tech Haven, we're dedicated to empowering small businesses in the digital landscape. She raised an eyebrow, skepticism creeping back in. "We create tailored solutions specifically designed for small to medium-sized businesses. We believe in giving them the resources they need to reach their customers effectively," he explained, feeling the rhythm of his words picking up speed. "Sounds good, but what's your unique selling point?" Jake leaned in, ready to unleash his passion. "It's about community involvement. We don't just act as a service provider, we build partnerships with our clients. We listen to their feedback and adapt our solutions to meet their evolving needs." She leaned back, considering his words. Jake felt the tension lift slightly. "Show me the numbers," she said, eyeing him with a combination of interest and caution. "Absolutely. We've already launched a beta version with several local businesses. In just 2 months, they've reported an average increase of 30% in online engagement." Her expression softened, and Jake saw a flicker of respect in her eyes. "That's impressive," she admitted, nodding slightly. "Understood," Jake replied earnestly. "That's why we've documented everything. Testimonials, case studies, even usage analytics. Were committed to transparency and accountability." Sitting there in that moment, Jake began to feel a shift. The barriers between them, built from skepticism and doubt, started to fade. Lee, he had finally learned her name, was beginning to see beyond the plaque to the vision behind it. Lee leaned in closer. "Impressive pitch, Jake, but let's be real, the tech industry can be ruthless." "I have one," he assured her. "Our long-term plan includes outreach to local business associations and partnerships with community events." "Interesting," she acknowledged. "But if you want me to believe in you, I need to see real results. In a month's time, come back with a detailed report, metrics, testimonials, and evidence of progress." "Thank you for the opportunity," Jake said, the words tumbling out with relief and gratitude. As he walked away, he felt a wave of exhilaration wash over him. That plaque now represented not just his dreams, but a promise to himself. He was determined to fulfill it, not just for him, but for all the small business owners counting on him for support. The following weeks were a whirlwind of activity. With each sunrise, Jake pushed himself and his small team harder, craving growth and learning from every setback. They dove into branding strategies, software updates, and customer outreach, driven by their unified vision of success. The weight of Lee's expectations loomed over him, but it felt oddly liberating. As he navigated through challenges, there were moments of doubt, days where exhaustion threatened to pull him down. But each time he returned to the plaque on his desk, he reminded himself of the late nights and relentless efforts that had brought him here. The deadline drew closer, creating a palpable tension in the air. He gathered his team for a critical meeting one evening. "All right, everyone, we're in the final stretch. We've made significant progress, but we need to double down. We want to show Lei that we're capable of more than just promises." "We've got this," one of his team members chimed in, optimism bubbling over. "Exactly," Jake replied, feeling a surge of determination. "Let's keep pushing through until we cross the finish line." The days turned into a blur of reports, analytics, and feedback collection. Jake felt the pressure mounting, but he was resolute. With each passing day, belief in their mission blossomed stronger within him. Finally, the fateful day arrived. Jake stood outside the same skyscraper, this time filled with a sense of purpose. He held the report tightly in his hands as he approached the lobby. Each step felt different. This was a moment of truth, and he was ready. As he reached the security desk, Lee sat waiting, arms crossed, the familiar look of scrutiny in her eyes. She asked, a hint of challenge hanging in the air. Jake stepped forward, laying out the detailed report he had prepared. "We've seen measurable success since we last spoke." As he spoke, he could see her eyebrows raising in surprise. The numbers were strong, engagement was up, and clients were eager to share their stories. He cited specific examples, lifting their experiences off the pages and breathing life into the report. Lee flipped through every page, her interest peaking as she absorbed the evidence of their hard work. "This is impressive, Jake. You've turned skepticism into results," she said, glancing up at him. He felt pride swell in his chest. After an intense moment of silence, Lee leaned back in her chair. "You've proven your commitment, but remember, challenges aren't going to evaporate." "I understand," Jake replied earnestly, his voice steady. She offered him a small smile. "Good, I think you're onto something valuable here." As they discussed plans and future steps, Jake felt the weight of his journey lift off his shoulders. The plaque in his pocket had transformed from a symbol of doubt to one of success. It represented the power of perseverance and the importance of believing in oneself. After leaving the building, he stood outside, feeling the sun warm his face. The city buzzed with energy, and Jake knew this was only the beginning. He understood then that being a founder was not just about a title or a plaque. It was about the journey, the struggles, the challenges, and the ultimate triumphs. It was about the people and the communities they could uplift together. With newfound determination, Jake walked away from that skyscraper, ready to embrace the future. In his heart, he felt a fire burn brighter than ever before, a fire ignited not just by dreams, but by hard-won victories and an unyielding belief that together, they could change lives. The road ahead would be challenging, but he was prepared to face it head-on, one step at a time. Jake felt the tension rise in his chest as he stood outside the sleek glass building. Today could change everything for him. He was there to pitch his startup, the tech haven, to a potential investor, and he needed this to work. As he approached the entrance, his heart raced and an unexpected wave of anxiety washed over him. When he stepped inside, the busy lobby buzzed with activity. People rushed past him, engaged in heated conversations and tapping on their phones. He felt like a stranger in a bustling world, a newcomer trying to find his way. But just as he thought he could blend in, a woman stepped into his path. She demanded, her voice as firm as her stance. Jake blinked in surprise, momentarily caught off guard. "I'm here for a meeting with Miss Blanchard," he stammered. Her eyes narrowed, scrutinizing him like an investigator looking for cracks in a story. "ID. I forgot it," Jake said, feeling a heat rise in his cheeks. He fumbled in his pockets, searching through crumpled receipts and loose change. "I left it in my bag," she shot back, her arms crossed. A lot of people claim to be something they're not. A wave of frustration swept over him. "I'm serious, I'm not here to cause any trouble." She leaned closer, her voice low but unwavering. "Prove it, unless you have something to show me." "A plaque, perhaps." The word plaque struck him like a lightning bolt. Yes, of course, he had one. It sat proudly on his desk back at the office, a testament to his hard work, but he hadn't thought to bring it. Would it even be enough to convince her? He blurted out, desperation creeping into his voice. "Fine," she replied, still unconvinced. Each step back to his office felt like a race against time, his heart pounding in rhythm with his footsteps. He pushed through the lobby doors, feeling the cool air outside wrap around him like a comfort blanket. This wasn't just about getting past a gatekeeper, it was about proving his worth both to her and to himself. When he burst through the doors of his cramped office, he spotted the plaque gleaming in the weak light. It was more than just a piece of wood and metal. It represented everything he had fought to build, endless hours coding, sleepless nights planning, and all the sacrifices he had made along the way. With renewed determination, Jake grasped the plaque tightly and dashed back to the skyscraper, adrenaline surging through him like a caffeinated jolt. The world around him blurred, but when he entered the lobby again, everything felt sharper. This time, he was armed with proof. The woman asked with a raised eyebrow as he approached the security desk. "I have it right here," he proclaimed, holding out the plaque as though it were the Holy Grail. She took the plaque and examined it closely, her expression a mix of skepticism and intrigue. "All right, I'll give you that." Jake felt a moment of panic, but he gathered himself. At the Tech Haven, we're committed to helping small businesses thrive. She asked, a hint of challenge in her tone. Jake leaned in, feeling his passion igniting. Provide customized solutions designed specifically for small businesses. They don't just get software, they get systems tailored to their unique needs. She raised an eyebrow, clearly intrigued. "That's a strong claim." "Absolutely," he replied, feeling his confidence grow. "We've documented everything. We collect feedback from our clients and make adjustments based on their needs." There was a slight shift in her posture. She was listening intently now, shifting from gatekeeper to interested partner. Jake's heart raced, adrenaline fueling his response. "Our primary focus is customer service. While many companies prioritize features, we prioritize relationships. Our clients aren't just numbers to us, they're partnerships." "That's a compelling perspective," she admitted, her arms crossing less defensively. "But in this industry, passion isn't enough." He nodded, feeling the weight of her words. "I know. That's why we have detailed reports and testimonials from clients who have benefited from our tools." Leahy finally learned her name, was scrutinizing him, not as a skeptic, but as someone genuinely weighing the merits of his proposal. There was something invigorating about it. It pushed Jake to articulate his vision even more clearly. "Listen, I appreciate your time. I'll make you a deal," he asked, his voice earnest. "All right," she said, finally softening her tone. "You've got yourself a month." As he walked away, a surge of relief flooded through him. The plaque in his hand felt heavier now with responsibility. It was more than just a token, it was a promise to himself, a vow to succeed. The next few weeks were a blur of activity and determination. The weight of expectation lifted him, driving him to chase success with vigor. Jake buried himself in his work, leading his small team with frenzied passion. They had meetings, strategized intensely, and pushed each other to improve and innovate. Each late-night brainstorming session felt charged with possibility, but there were also moments of doubt. The startup world was relentless, and the fear of failure loomed large. There were days when Jake questioned if he was cut out for this. Would he have the results to show when the time came? Whenever doubt crept into his mind, he would look at the plaque on his desk, reminding himself of the journey. It was more than just a physical object. It represented the struggle, resilience, and hard work that brought him here. He wasn't just a dreamer, he was a doer, and he intended to prove it. As the month drew to a close, the office was alive with tension and purpose. Jake gathered his team for a final overview meeting. All right, everyone, we're in the home stretch. We need to present something compelling to Lay. They mapped out their findings, showing how their efforts had transformed not just numbers, but the businesses they worked with. Jake felt the energy in the room, fueled by belief and teamwork. Finally, day of reckoning arrived. Jake stood outside the skyscraper once again, his heart pounding. He was no longer the uncertain founder. He was a man armed with the evidence of his hard work. With the report in hand, he approached the security desk where Lee stood. She asked, a mix of challenge and curiosity in her voice. "I am," he said, presenting the report with a mix of pride and nervous energy. As he walked her through each metric, he could see her shifting from skepticism to genuine interest. "We onboarded 12 businesses, and every one of them has reported growth in customer engagement and sales." Lee flipped through the pages, impressively absorbing each piece of evidence he laid out. Jake's heart raced, hope igniting as he saw her eyebrows raise with intrigue. "This is strong," she said, looking up at him. "I've built a team that's passionate about our mission," Jake replied, his voice steady. Lee leaned back, thoughtfully considering the information before her. "That's an admirable goal, but understand that results today don't guarantee success tomorrow." "Absolutely. We've laid the groundwork for continued success, and we're ready to adapt," he assured, feeling the weight shift from doubt to possibility. Lee's expression softened. "I'm impressed. You've changed my perception of you." A wave of elation surged through him. This was the moment he had worked for, the moment he had not just faced doubt, but turned it into opportunity. The plaque in his pocket felt lighter now, not just an object, but a representation of growth, grit, and resilience. As they discussed plans for collaboration, Jake felt invigorated. He realized that this was not just about securing investment, it was about building something meaningful. He was here to make a difference, not just for himself, but for countless small businesses counting on him. Saying goodbye to Lee that day felt bittersweet. He was excited, but knew this was just the beginning. With her support, the tech haven could flourish, and the journey ahead would be filled with challenges, yes, but also with countless victories. Stepping out of the skyscraper, Jake looked up at the sky, feeling the warmth of the sun on his face. He understood now that being a founder was not about a title. It was about perseverance, community, and making an impact. Holding the plaque close to his heart, Jake knew he was ready to face whatever came next. He would continue to rise, not just for himself, but for everyone who dared to dream big. After all, the journey had only just begun. Jake's heart raced as he approached the towering glass building, the sun glinting off its sleek surface like a mirror reflecting a million dreams. Today was pivotal, the day he would pitch his tech startup, the Tech Haven, to a potential investor. But as he entered the lobby, the bustling energy around him felt both intimidating and exhilarating, like stepping onto the stage before the wild applause. Just as he was about to step into the elevator, a woman halted him with an unwavering gaze. Jake felt a jolt of panic. "ID, I'm here to meet with Ms." He could hardly catch his breath. "ID." Her voice was firm, slicing through the creeping anxiety that threatened to engulf him. "I don't have it on me. I think I left it in my bag," Jake stuttered, his fingers fumbling through his pockets. He could feel the heat rising in his cheeks. The woman crossed her arms. Her piercing eyes scanned him like a detective searching for contradictions. The desperation welled inside him. "I'm serious. I promise I'm not here to cause trouble." "Prove it," she said, unimpressed. "Do you have anything to back it up?" A lightning bolt struck Jake's mind. The plaque, of course he had one. But it sat in his office, a monument of ambition in a cramped space filled with dreams and chaos. He exclaimed, desire overcoming dread. "Fine," she replied, arching an eyebrow, "but you better hurry." Rushing out of the building, Jake felt as if he were sprinting against time itself, urgency propelling him forward. This wasn't just about getting past a gatekeeper. It was about proving he was more than words on a business card. He needed to validate his place in this world. Bursting into his office, scattered papers and coffee cups greeted him like old friends. There it was, the plaque, gleaming under the fluorescent light like a beacon of hope. He grasped it tightly, feeling its weight. It was more than just wood and engraving. It symbolized late nights, relentless effort, and the journey that had brought him to this pivotal moment. With renewed purpose, Jake sprinted back to the skyscraper, adrenaline coursing through his veins like a river of vitality. He could feel the moment approaching, the moment that could change everything for him. As he entered the lobby again, the same woman stood at the security desk, a mix of surprise and skepticism flickering in her eyes. "You're back," she said, skepticism still lingering in the air. Jake declared, holding out the plaque like a trophy. She examined it closely, her expression shifting subtly. "I see, but this still doesn't prove your business is viable." Jake felt the fire of conviction igniting in his chest. "At the Tech Haven, we empower small businesses to thrive in a digital landscape." "Interesting," she said, leaning in. With each passing second, his nerves transformed into enthusiasm. We create tailored solutions designed specifically for their needs. Last month, a local coffee shop saw a 40% increase in online sales within 2 weeks of using our platform. Her eyebrows raised, a flicker of curiosity striking across her face. Impressive, but the tech industry is littered with failures. Jake's heart raced, knowing this was the moment to prove himself. Our secret is community involvement. We believe in building relationships, not just transactions. She paused, taking it all in. That's compelling, but it's still a lot of talk. Jake nodded, feeling the weight of her challenge. I understand. That's why I've gathered data, testimonials, and feedback from our pilot programs. The barriers between them began to crumble as Lee, the woman he now knew by name, leaned in closer. All right, I'll give you a chance, he said, the relief washing over him like a warm tide. As he left the building, the plaque in his hand felt heavier than before. It wasn't just a milestone, it was a promise to himself and the businesses relying on him to succeed. The following weeks were a blur. Jake poured every ounce of energy into his work, guiding his small team through the minefield of challenges that lay ahead. They worked late into the evenings, fueled by coffee and ambition. Together, they brainstormed strategies, analyzed data, and crafted marketing plans. Yet with each passing day, anticipation gnawed at him. The fear of failure lingered like a shadow. What if he couldn't deliver? What if, after all this work, he still fell short? But with every challenge came a reminder, the plaque on his desk gleaming with significance. Each time he caught a glimpse of it, determination surged through him. He was not just a man with dreams, he was a man who was about to make those dreams a reality. I believe in this vision, Java, one of his team members, said to him one day. You've built something worthwhile. They pushed each other, turning obstacles into stepping stones. They found new clients, gathered testimonials, and celebrated small victories. The momentum grew, and Jake could feel the tide turning in his favor. Finally, the deadline approached. On that fateful day, Jake stood outside the towering skyscraper once more, adrenaline racing through him as he clutched the report in his hands. He felt both anxious and empowered, ready to face whatever lay before him. As he entered the building for the third time, a sense of purpose filled the air. Lee greeted him at the security desk. She asked, a hint of challenge in her voice. I am, Jake replied, his confidence blooming like a flower breaking through concrete. He laid out the report detailing their successes, metrics, and testimonials from clients who had benefited from the tech haven. Each page he turned highlighted their journey, showcasing how they had transformed dreams into measurable growth. Lee flipped through it all, her eyes narrowing in focus. These numbers are impressive, she acknowledged, raising an eyebrow. I understand completely, Jake replied, his voice steady. We've crafted a roadmap that includes ongoing feedback loops and adaptations. She leaned back in her chair, her expression contemplative. That's good to hear. You've made strides, Jake, but the tech industry is unpredictable. Jake took a deep breath, gathering his thoughts. It's about constant innovation. We're dedicated to listening to our clients, refining our services, and staying ahead of market changes. Lee studied him, the skepticism slowly fading, replaced by respect. All right. A surge of triumph washed over him. It felt like he had crossed a threshold. This was more than just a pitch. It was validation of the hard work, effort, and heart he had poured in. As they discussed further collaboration, Jake felt a mix of excitement and relief. This was a defining moment not just for him, but for everyone who had supported him throughout the tumultuous journey. He wasn't just a founder, he was a pioneer ready to uplift others. You've proved your potential today, Lee said, finally standing up. I'll be in touch with the next steps, but remember, this is just the beginning. Jake nodded, absorbing her words as he left the skyscraper, the sun shining brightly on him. The city felt alive, buzzed with opportunities. But as he made his way down the street, confidence coursing through him, his phone buzzed in his pocket. It was a message from his investor, one he had been waiting for anxiously. He glanced down as he read the brief text, "We need to talk." Suddenly, doubt crashed back over him. Was he really ready for this? What if it was bad news? Just as he was about to slip into panic, he steadied himself. He walked faster, determination flooding his veins. He had come too far to let fear control him now. He had the proof, the passion, and the support of those around him. Jake knew this was a turning point, but what awaited him on the other side of that message? Would it cement his dreams or shatter them? As he arrived at his office, he took a deep breath, ready to face whatever lay ahead, a final test that could change the course of his life forever.